Hey everybody, how's it going? Thiago here, and welcome to another episode of What Makes This English Great series. This is episode 2, and if you haven't seen episode 1, I'm going to leave the link in the description. In episode 1, we broke down Sylvester Stallone's English back in 1977 in an interview where he's talking about the first Rocky movie. It was super cool. So if you haven't seen that one, link in the description so you can watch it after today's breakdown. But today we are covering Axl Rose's English, and I found footage of this famous interview that he gave in 1990, to be exact. So we're going to be listening to Axl Rose back in his prime, giving this interview and breaking down his English. So without further ado, let's see what Axl, the man himself, has to say. Here we go.
You had mentioned there you had some goals for this record. I mean, you guys are in a position where you're like, you were the hard rock band in the country, of probably not the world. Where do you go next? I mean, what are you trying to demonstrate?
There's lots of kinds of material. Basically,
you know, one thing I can say from the get-go is about the tone of his voice, right? Because he has this super low register when he speaks. And to those of you who know Guns N' Roses, you know that that's not the way he usually sings the songs, right? He sings the songs in a super crazy, high-pitched voice with lots of drive, at least back in the day. And to speak that way, like that low, it's incredible to see the flexibility that he has in his voice. On one hand, he can sing super high and super aggressively with drive. But on the other hand, he used to speak in this very low register. So it's incredible to see that.
with all kinds of different reactions in the press and this and that, it was kind of like the only way to show where we've been.
Where we've been. He's using present perfect here. The only way to show where we've been. Did you hear the present perfect there? Here we go.
Show where we've been.
Nice, right?
And to make ourselves happy was to just try to put it all out.
Just try to put it all out. Put it all out. Hear the connected speech that he's employing here, yeah? He's saying put it all out, but connecting everything, it sounds like put it all out. Put it all out. I'm going to slow down. Put it all. Put it all. Put it all out. All right? Listen to that part again.
To just try to put it all out.
You see? He's basically talking about, I believe, the Use Your Illusion albums, which were, big at the time, and they released those albums in the early 90s, right? And it was an extensive collection of songs that they released. It was actually 2 albums released at the same time. So that's why he's saying put it all out. All the material they had been working on prior, they put it all out.
Try to put all the material out at once, which, 148 minutes, that hasn't really been done. I mean, Springsteen put out...
Did you hear the present perfect again? It hasn't really been done. It's amazing. Listen.
I mean, Springsteen put out a 5...
Oh, sorry, let me go back a little bit.
material out at once, which, 148 minutes, that hasn't really been done. I mean...
It hasn't really been done. Present perfect. It hasn't really been done. Really cool.
Springsteen put out a 5-album box set, but it was live. It had been done over the years. Most of this is new material, and there's a couple cover tunes in it.
Is this album going to be also mixed up like GNR Live? There's going to be a lot of acoustic stuff on it too. There's going to be different stylistic things going on.
Yeah, there'll be a few acoustic things. There'll be some songs that are acoustic going into electric, back to acoustic and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's basically talking about the songs in these 2 new albums that they were about to release. And notice that he used the word material, right? So usually artists, musicians, they refer to their albums, their work that they put out to the public as material. So we say new material, like new songs that we are releasing.
Play guitar on a couple songs for the first time. I can only play 2.
What? Did he say that he plays guitar in a couple of songs in the album?
And stuff like that. I actually play guitar on a couple songs for the first time.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that he actually plays guitar in a couple of songs from that album. I got to check that out, yeah.
I can only play 2 strings, but it's some pretty cool punk rock type stuff.
You see, he has a little bit of self-deprecating humor making a little bit of fun of himself, right? Because he says, "Oh, I can only play two strings," meaning that I'm a terrible player, but I made it work on the album. So again, that type of humor in conversation, of course, when used sporadically, is endearing. It's charming. Yeah, you make the other person laugh a little bit, chuckle, and the vibe of the conversation remains positive.
Well, how come Steven left the band at this critical juncture?
Didn't leave the band.
Or how come you and
Steven was fired.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now he's talking about the drummer, the original drummer, Steven Adler, right? He was fired from the band.
We gave him every ultimatum.
We gave him every ultimatum. So when you give a person an ultimatum, you give a warning like, hey, if you don't stop doing whatever it is you're doing, you're going to have this consequence, So when you threaten someone like that, you are giving the person an ultimatum. You either change your behavior or we don't work well together. We don't work anymore together. That's basically what he's saying. But it's a great word, ultimatum. Listen again.
We gave him every ultimatum.
Ultimatum.
We tried working with other drummers. We had Steven sign a contract saying if he went back to drugs, then he was out.
Man.
Apparently because, he was using drugs, right?
He couldn't leave his drugs. And
he couldn't leave his drugs. All right.
Other things have happened involved with Steven, that Steven is basically someone I used to know. It makes me feel bad, but...
Steve is basically someone I used to know. You see, he's using the used to structure here for past habits, right? Or for past events. He's someone I used to know. Someone I used to know. Notice the pronunciation here because we pronounce used to with an S sound as well. It's not a Z sound like used. I used to know. Or like some Brazilian learners like to say, I used to know. But it's used. I used to know. He's someone I used to know. Before we continue with this breakdown, let me invite you to download and try my app, the B2 Edge. As you can see here, I am able to listen to interviews like this and understand pretty much everything that is being said, and I'm able to analyze the language and really capture what the native speaker is saying. Why? Because over the years, I have developed my level of proficiency in English to an advanced level. So, I went from B2 to C1 and then to C2 levels, which are the more advanced levels of proficiency. So if you want to have a similar result and be able to understand media and interviews like this, you need to develop your proficiency level much more in English. So the B2 Edge app was designed for that. It was designed for intermediate level learners of English who feel stuck at that intermediate plateau and who need to break through that plateau and get to a solid B2 level, which is upper intermediate, then C1 level, which is advanced. All right. The app has a structured curriculum that you follow daily. So if you have 20 to 30 minutes a day to dedicate to your English practice and studies, this app will be a great study companion for you. Remember, this is not a fun language game. All right. This is a study companion app. So if you are ready to set aside 20 to 30 minutes a day to sit down and actually study English and practice, the app will take you there. Will take you to that next level because, you're going to follow a structured curriculum. You can also practice conversation with the AI coach built inside the app. The AI coach is trained by me and all my 20 years of knowledge, teaching experience, and expertise. So I highly recommend you try it out if you are serious about your English learning this year. So now back to AXL Rose.
There's other things beside the band that he was involved in with his drugs that been very dangerous and scary, and I want nothing to do with him.
All right. He's using a really cool preposition here, right? Involved in. Listen.
There's other things beside the band that he was involved in with.
You see, there are other things beside the band that he was involved in. This is really important to notice, this "in" at the end, because I find that many learners have the tendency to forget that preposition at the end of the sentence. So many learners would just say, oh, there were many things that he was involved. For example, But don't forget that preposition. This is a mark of accuracy. So things that he was involved in. He was involved in these things, you see?
With his drugs that been very dangerous and scary, and I want nothing to do with him.
Is that what you were talking about when you were open for the Rolling Stones in L.A.?
Great phrase he's using here, yeah? Listen again.
Been very dangerous and scary, and I want nothing to do with him.
I want nothing to do with him. When you say, I want nothing to do with you, it's like, I don't want to see you. I don't want to be friends with you. I don't want to be associated with you. All right? So this is a great phrase. Listen again.
He was involved in with his drugs that been very dangerous and scary, and I want nothing to do with him.
Is that what you were talking about when you were open for the Rolling Stones in L.A. last year? And you said somebody in this band has been dancing with Mr. Brownstone, essentially?
No, there was majority of the band was at that time, or too much alcohol, or too much something. Me, I was eating too much or whatever, and just sitting on my ass too much.
Yeah.
He's basically talking about the excesses that the band had gone through over the years, right? About him specifically, I think he said that he was eating too much and sitting on his ass. Listen again.
Me, I was eating too much or
You see, me, I was eating too much.
whatever, and just sitting on my ass too much.
Yeah.
And sitting on my ass too much. It's a great expression. When you sit on your ass, it means that you are basically sedentary. You're just a sedentary type of person. You are sitting on your ass and you're not active enough, physically speaking. So it's a great expression. Sitting on my ass, right? Listen again.
Majority of the band was at that time, or too much alcohol, or too much something. Me, I was eating too much or whatever, and just sitting on my ass too much.
Yeah. How's it going with the new drummer? Is he fitting right in? Or it must be very hard at this point to bring somebody new into the band, isn't it?
It was a miracle.
Right.
He saved the band's life. He came in, he's in an up.
I think he's talking about Matt Sorum, who was the drummer who replaced Steven Adler, especially in the Use Your Illusion era of Guns N' Roses. And Matt Sorum also played for The Cult, the band The Cult.
Mood. He works, he writes his own material, and he writes a lot. He works real well with us. He takes suggestions well, he keeps everybody in line, keeps the time.
I can't get over the depth of his voice, man. It's like, it's so low. I mean, I don't have that low register when I speak. It's incredible.
He came in, he's in an up mood.
He's in an up mood. Did you hear that? He is in an up mood. Like, he's a pleasant guy. He's a pleasant person to be around because, he's always in a good mood. But actually saying he's in an up mood. It's not that kind of person that is the opposite, that drags everybody down in the room, like a downer type of person.
Works, he writes his own material, and he writes a lot. He works real well with us. He takes suggestions well, he keeps everybody in line, keeps the timing great. You know what I mean?
He keeps everybody in line. That's what he said, right? Listen again.
A lot. He works real well with us. He takes suggestions well, he keeps everybody in line, keeps the time.
He keeps everybody in line. Like, he helps the operation run smoothly about the time, about the schedule. Okay, everybody, time to rehearse now. Let's get started in 5 minutes. That kind of attitude. This is keeping everything and everybody in line.
Timing great. He played 29 songs in a month.
Dude, you mentioned one of the covers you're doing is You Only Live Twice. Why that of all the songs in the world?
No, Live and Let Die.
Sorry, Live and Let Die. That's
Live and Let Die. I don't know, I was watching I thought about it once a long time ago.
Listening to him speak, Axel, I can tell that he mumbles a little bit as well sometimes, maybe because of that laid backness that I was just talking about. I mean, in the first episode of the series, in the Stallone episode, I also noticed that Stallone mumbles a bit sometimes. He's not a gigantic mumbler, a big mumbler, but he mumbles sometimes. I can also hear a little bit of that mumble in Axel here. He sometimes doesn't pronounce every word maybe as well as he could. He doesn't articulate the words as well as he could. But again, it's all about that rock star persona, I think, and speaking in that laid back, relaxed manner.
But just thought you never be able to get that the way it sounds. It's done that well. And then I was watching I'd rented the movie and I was watching it and I just went, this song sounds like Welcome to the Jungle too. You know, it's like now that you're here. So, and it just felt right. So we ended up playing it a little bit in rehearsal and it started working. And now,
You know, rehearsal is when the band gets together to practice. Yeah. Usually before a gig, before a show, a concert, the band gets together for rehearsal. Rehearsal is when the musicians play together in the studio, in a private space, in order to practice the songs they're going to play live on stage to the public. You can use that word for any performing art, actually, you know, not just musicians, but actors before shooting a scene. They have the rehearsal moment, or actors in a theater play, you know, they rehearse first, all right?
that we actually gone and started recording it, you know, we're finding out that, wait, we are good enough to play this song.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't think we were. You know, we didn't think we were good enough to get it down right.
You know, I've already shared this many times here on the channel, how I feel like myself, me, you know, I sometimes use, you know, the filler a lot when I speak. I use, you know, blah, 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 you know? Yeah, I know. Yeah, you know? I tend to use that a lot. And I think that maybe part of that influence was guys like this, you know, like AXL, because, you know, he also uses, you know, quite frequently. Yeah, this filler, you know? You see, I just used it again. So I think, you know, when I was learning English back when I was a teenager, I wanted to emulate these guys, you know, because, you know, these guys were my heroes back then, you know, these rock stars. So, you know, I guess I ended up trying to emulate a little bit of this rock starish, you know, laid back type of speaking with lots of fillers, you know. About filler words such as, you know, or like, they're not really a problem per se, because, you know, they help you sound more conversational, sound more natural. I think the issue is if you overdo it, if you use them too much every sentence, every time, then it gets a little bit annoying, and I think it detracts a little bit from your authority and your communication as a whole. But if you use it sporadically here and there, I think it adds a little bit of flavor to your communication. It makes you sound more natural and conversational, all right?
You know, but Slash is doing most of the string arrangements on his guitar with a harmonizer. And it's kind of like, to me, it's like Tom Waits meets Metallica or something, because the way I sing.
You see, he used another filler. It's kind of like, he didn't say it's kind of Tom Waits meet Metallica, but it's kind of like, it's a filler right there.
It's so rough and scratchy, but, you know, that I sound like Tom Waits or something on it, kind of. It's working out really good, and it sounds like...
Ooh, did you hear that? It's working out really good.
That I sound like Tom Waits or something on it, kind of. It's working out really good, and it...
This is actually a mistake. He just made a mistake, a grammatical mistake. I mean, it's working out really good. Because, you know, he's using good as an adverb, but the correct adverb in this sentence is not good, it's well. It's working out really well. That would be the correct way to say this. But he's saying it's working out really good. Listen again.
But, you know, that I sound like Tom Waits or something on it, kind of. It's working out really good, and it...
Did you hear that? It's working out real good. But the correct way is it's working out really well, right? You see, I mean, this just goes to show that even native speakers, they make little grammar mistakes sometimes. And one thing that I can say that is positive about it is that because of his attitude in the interview, because of his delivery and laid back way of speaking, that doesn't really detract from his authority and what he's saying, all right? So I think it's a good example of embracing the grammar mistake, because if your delivery is on point, it's okay for you to slip up a little bit, maybe use a wrong preposition here and there or a grammar mistake like this, because your overall communication in that moment is still effective.
It sounds like us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everybody that hears it thinks that it sounds like the perfect song for us to do.
Have you got anything coming up? You had mentioned there's something on a song on this album that's coming up that might cause some problems, you think? Is there any...
There's a song called Coma that is like 11 minutes and 45 seconds long with no chorus.
So this song is 11 minutes without chorus. Is that it?
That is like 11 minutes and 45 seconds long with no chorus.
11 minutes and 45 seconds long with no chorus. So it's a gigantic song. You know, in music, we have a certain structure. Every song has a structure. Usually, songs follow the following structure. Verse 1, chorus. Verse 2, chorus. Back in the day, when rock was mainstream, we would usually have a guitar break in the middle of the song, or a guitar solo, or some sort of instrumentation. And then towards the end of the song, we would just repeat the chorus multiple times until the song ended, okay? So the chorus is that verse of the song. Those words, those lines, that melody that is repeated multiple times throughout the song. That's the chorus. So can you imagine a song that not only is 11 minutes long, but has no chorus, you know? So he's talking about that song, Coma.
That is like 11 minutes and 45 seconds long with no chorus. Okay. And I think there was only one verse that somewhat repeats itself. It's Slash's Baby.
It's Slash's Baby. Slash is the lead guitar player of the band, right? The guy with the top hat. So he's saying it's Slash's baby. That song was written by Slash. It's his baby. He wrote that material.
It's his monster. The song used to be called Girth.
His monster. Yeah, the song used to be called Girth. All right, listen again.
It's like 11 minutes and 45 seconds long with no chorus. Okay. And I think there was only one verse that somewhat repeats itself. It's Slash's Baby. It's his monster. The song used to be called Girth.
Yeah, because girth is usually something round that is large between the edges. Girth, something like this. Yeah, so the song used to be called Girth because it was a monster. Yeah, it was a gigantic song, and maybe even a little bit complex or complicated to play compared to their other more popular songs.
But I started writing about when I OD'd 4 years ago.
I started writing about when I OD'd, right? Listen again.
So, it's Slash's Baby. It's his monster. The song used to be called Girth. But I started writing about when I OD'd 4 years ago.
When I OD'd, or OD 4 years ago. So when a rock star like that talks about ODing, right? When I OD or ODing, he's talking about overdose, right? So OD is short for overdose. So apparently he had this experience of overdosing, having a pill or drug overdose. So we call that OD, IOD, right? Or OD'd.
And the reason I OD'd was because of stress. I couldn't take it.
Yeah.
And I just...
was because of stress. I couldn't take it. So if you say, I can't take it, it's like, I can't put up with this. I can't tolerate this. I can't handle it. I'm unable to manage the situation. All right? I can't take this. I couldn't take this.
Grabbed this bottle of pills in an argument and just gulped them down. And I ended up...
Okay, here's a very nice phrasal verb here. Listen again.
And I just grabbed this bottle of pills in an argument and just gulped them down.
And I just grabbed this bottle of, was it a bottle of pills?
Take it. Yeah. And I just grabbed this bottle of pills
yeah, I just grabbed this bottle of pills and
in an argument and just gulped them down.
In an argument and just gulped them down. So the phrasal verb he's using here is gulp down. Okay? Gulp down. So when you gulp down, usually liquid, you drink it, but you drink it really quickly, like with those big swallows, It's like boom, 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 like that. And then it's done. So he gulped down a bunch of pills in an argument. So he just swallowed whole a bunch of pills in an argument. That's why he OD'd.
And I ended up in the hospital. And
another great phrasal verb he's using here, I ended up in the hospital. Listen.
them down. and I ended up in the hospital.
I ended up in the hospital, meaning I had to go to the hospital.
But I liked that I wasn't in the fight anymore. And I was fully conscious that I was leaving.
Yeah.
I liked that. But then I go, all of a sudden my first real thoughts though were that, okay, you haven't toured enough, the record's not going to last, it's going to be forgotten, this and that, you have work to do, get out of this. And I went, no, and I woke up, and pulled myself out of it.
Yeah, he's talking about that horrible experience he had with the OD, right?
But in the describing of that, some people could take it wrong and think this means go put yourself into a coma.
Yeah.
And so it's really tricky. I'm still playing with the words to figure out how to show some hope in there.
Yeah.
Right. So I think he's talking about that song, right? The lyrics to Coma. Yeah. He is worried here in this interview not to give kids the wrong idea. Don't do what I did. That's basically what he's saying. So it's a bit tricky to find the right words so that you can share that horrible experience you had, but without encouraging it. That's what he's saying, and how can you add some hope to the lyrics, right?
Some people could take it wrong and think this means go put yourself into a coma.
Yeah.
And so it's really tricky. I'm still playing with the words to figure out how to show some hope in there.
Yeah.
You see, how to show some hope. How can I talk about this horrible experience I had with the pills and the drugs, but show some hope in the lyrics as well? I like this worry that he had even back then. People sometimes they label rock stars like these crazy, erratic type of people, But at least in this case here, we see one that is, actually quite aware of the message he's putting out there.
We seem to, from a couple of years ago, ODing on pills, you've come a long way since then. Do you feel more settled down now and you seem pretty relaxed and together?
Yeah, but it's been a lot of work to do that because there's, part of...
He used present perfect again, right? It's been a lot of work.
Yeah, but it's been a lot of work to do that because...
But it's been a lot of work to do that. It's been a lot of work.
Because there's, part of... We got used to, as the Eagles would say, everything all the time. And...
It's cool that he's referencing the Eagles. The Eagles is another one of my favorite bands of all time. They are the ones who wrote Hotel California, right? And he's referencing one of the Eagles songs here. I believe it's Life in the Fast Lane, because Life in the Fast Lane talks about that. The lyrics talk about this crazy lifestyle of, partying all the time, being on all the time, drinking and using drugs and that kind of stuff. That's the life in the fast lane, as they would describe it. So there's a part in the chorus of the song where they sing everything all the time. You see, it's that ongoing mode, everything all the time. So it's cool that he's referencing that. But you see, I get that because, I am familiar with the Eagles, with the song, So this is another tip that I can give you, because the more you consume media like that, and the more in touch you become with the culture of the English language, in this case, the American culture, because, he's American, right? The easier it is for you to understand even cultural references in an interview like that. I'm sure that for someone who has never heard of the Eagles and doesn't know Life in the Fast Lane, they wouldn't get this reference that he's making here.
We got used to, as the Eagles would say, everything all the time, and living that way and going for it, and all of a sudden you started to and that's what got us here. That's what got us signed. That's what got us on top of things. And then you started.
That's what got us here. That's what got us signed. Yeah, because back then, artists had to be signed by a record company, right?
Then you got to a point where you go, wait a minute, everything that got me here is also starting to I'm starting to self-destruct. It's starting to tear up my life. I have to.
Yeah, he's talking about something quite deep here, yeah, because, he's saying that back when they were still trying to, let's say, find success as a band, they were in that everything all the time mode, right? It's probably lots of partying, lots of drinking and drug use. But then he's saying, on one hand, that was good because, it gives us that, raw energy to go after our dreams and, become as successful as we are. But on the other hand, it's destructing us, I'm self-destructing. So how can I change that? So really cool.
Figure out how to channel my energies other directions. It's a weird one. Settling down is a weird one, you know.
Do you think it's just a function of like getting older and learning more and being more aware of what's going on?
It's realizing there's life after, 21, life after 25, life after 27. 27 was the hardest year.
Nice line, right? It's about realizing that there is life after 21, 25, 27, right? And he's saying that 27 was the hardest year, probably because, there is this idea, this myth, I think, of the 27, right? When it comes to rock stars in 27, because many rock stars, many artists, they actually die at 27, So that there is that thing of the 27, So he's saying that 27 was the hardest year for him, probably because of that aura, right?
I met Prince and I was talking with Prince and he was like, how old are you? 28? And he goes, last year was the hardest, wasn't it? And he was saying how 27 is like the bitch. It's the hardest year. Like
27 is the bitch. If you call something the bitch, you say that it's tough. It's not pleasant. It's not nice, right? So it's cool that he's saying that he was talking to Prince, right? Another one of my favorite artists, right? And I think AXL was 28 in this interview, yeah? So, hey, how old are you? 28? So last year was the hardest, right? You just made it through 27.
27 was definitely my hardest year.
It's all behind you now.
Yeah, it's still a mess, but like I'm used to when it gets a mess.
Yeah. Did you consider that valid when people say, well, you're up there in front of kids, you have to set a good example? I mean,
the interviewer is using a really cool collocation. Listen.
You're up there in front of kids, you have to set a good example.
You're playing for lots of young kids. You have to set a good example. So the collocation is set a good example, all right? So when you set a good example to other people, you become a role model. You act, speak, and behave in a way that inspires other people to do the same as you and behave the same as you in a positive way, in a good way. So you are setting a good example. I'm pointing this collocation out because it's not, for example, to give a good example. I mean, as a Brazilian learner myself, I know that if I think in my native language, in Portuguese, I'm going to want to say give a good example. Oh, it's important for you to give a good example, but that's not the right collocation in English. It's set a good example. So a father, for example, sets a good example to his son, let's say.
I mean, a lot of people say, well, no, I'm an artist. I don't have to set an example. I just do my art. I mean, how do you feel about that?
It's real tricky. When our first major tour was with Motley Crue, and the audience was younger than most audiences we played, like on the Aerosmith tour or in other tours or our own.
It's cool that he's saying that, when they played with Motley Crue, the audience was younger, yeah? The audience that listened to Motley Crue back then. But when they played with Aerosmith, and even their fans apparently were older, were mature, slightly more mature.
Tours and the tours with the Cult. And it was real hard to do the song It's So Easy.
Yeah.
Because there's a line in there, I drink and drive and everything's in sight. We were talking about kind of how we got away with things and we're lucky to be here. It was real hard.
When you get away with something, you do something bad, but you still escape the punishment or the consequence, all right? You survive the consequence, all right? So listen again.
Or in other tours or our own tours and the tours with the Cult. And it was real hard to do the song It's So Easy.
Yeah.
Because there's a line in there, I drink and drive and everything's in sight.
I drink and drive and everything's in sight. That's a line of one of their songs, right? It's So Easy.
We were talking about kind of how we got away with things and we're lucky to be here. It was real hard knowing that some of these kids would just go out and go, yeah, I drink and drive, everything's in sight. I mean, is he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see, he's saying that the purpose of those lyrics was not to encourage kids to do those things, to drink and drive and everything in sight, but just to tell their story. Like, hey, we did this and we were lucky to get away with it, to survive, and we are here. Yeah, we're lucky to be alive still. Yeah, so it's not really encouraging that. But, he's saying that it's tricky because probably young kids would listen to that song and take it as, okay, I got to do the same thing. I got to do that.
Put it best when he said, a lot of people think our record means, party and do cocaine and rock and roll. It's like, and that just ain't what it is. And so,
Nice. I think he's talking about the first album, their breakthrough, Appetite for Destruction, right? He's saying that album, a lot of people think that it's about self-destruction and drinking and using drugs and rock and roll, But he's saying that it's not that. It's probably just them sharing their experiences and how lucky they are to be alive.
a lot of people think our record means, party and do cocaine and rock and roll. It's like, and that just ain't what it is. And so Izzy was going to quit at one time because he didn't like the way people were reacting to it.
I believe he used ain't here, which was slang, right?
Put it best when he said, a lot of people think our record means, party and do cocaine and rock and roll. It's like, and that just ain't what it is.
That just ain't what it is. So he's using ain't. That just ain't what it is. Listen again.
Party and do cocaine and rock and roll. It's like, and that just ain't what it is. So,
You see, so that ain't what it is. This is a slang, ain't, okay? Let's say that the correct way to say this is that is not what it is. That is not what it is, or that isn't what it is. But instead of isn't, he's using ain't because, again, to go back to that rock star persona, the laid back vibe that he's putting out here, all right? So this word ain't can be used to replace negatives like am not, is not, are not, or even haven't or hasn't. So for example, I can say, I'm not short. So instead of saying I'm not short, I could say I ain't short, all right? Or I can say I haven't been to this place. Or I can say I ain't been to this place. But remember, this word does not exist in English grammar. It's a slang type of word, and it's commonly used by rock stars, by people who speak more street type of language, and also in songs, because sometimes in songs, it makes the lyric sound cooler. All right.
So Izzy was going to quit at one time because he didn't like the way people were reacting to it. Heard something on the radio last night when Frank Zappa broke up the Mothers. It was because people were clapping for all the wrong reasons. Man, it's hard when you know that you're doing your material and the audience, the majority of your audience, isn't getting what you meant.
Yeah, he's talking about something really cool here. Yeah, I mean, clapping for all the wrong reasons. Yeah, he's saying it's hard when you are doing your material, you are expressing yourself as an artist, but the majority of your audience is reacting the opposite way that you intended, right? So that's a really cool thing that he's sharing here.
Music you remember hearing when you were a kid, is there one thing that turned you on and said, wow, this is what I want to do?
When that happened, I was already playing and singing and church music and all kinds of things. When it happened that, is this what I want to do, was Led Zeppelin's Jamaica.
One thing that I can point out as well is the use of the pause. Notice that he's not really in a rush to speak and to convey his ideas. If he needs to, he's going to take a few seconds of a pause, think about what he wants to say, and say it. So that's another great tip that we can extract from this interview. Embrace the pause and don't be in such a rush to communicate and express your ideas.
What I want to do was Led Zeppelin's Jamaica.
If anything, that pause of 2-3 seconds makes his speech even more impactful, because then we want to keep listening to see what he's going to say.
When I heard that, I was making fun of it all day long, because I was always writing down the lyrics to all the joke songs that were out, spiders and snakes and stuff, and passing out to all the kids. But I heard that song and was going, yeah, there's another one. And I was out making fun of it. But by afternoon recess, I was in the corner with the radio waiting to hear that song. That, Benny and the Jets, just made me go, I want this.
Oh, nice. He's talking about a Zeppelin song and also an Elton John song, Benny and the Jets. So apparently when he listened to Benny and the Jets by Elton John, that was when he realized that he wanted to be a musician as well. Yeah, he's a huge fan of Elton John as well, which is cool.
It's funny, I wouldn't normally picture it as an Elton John, like launching your consciousness of music.
Elton John is it.
Elton John is it. You see, I mean, he really admires him.
His especially the first 7 albums. Bernie Taupin, to me, is the best lyric writer who's ever lived on the face of the earth. And
Yeah, Bernie Taupin is Elton's longtime partner. Yeah, Bernie Taupin is the lyricist to Elton John's songs. You know, he writes the words, the lyrics, and then Elton gets those words and transforms them into music. And most of Elton John's music is like that, you know? So he's saying that Bernie Taupin is one of the best lyricists on the face of the earth, right?
like, especially the first 7 albums. Bernie Taupin, to me, is the best lyric writer who's ever lived on the face of the earth. And
Bernie Taupin, to me, is one of the best lyric writers to ever live on the face of the earth.
And Elton John was just amazing in the studio and the recording of everything. It's some of it's so art. I mean, to me, that's my classical music because some of his stuff is classical.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Elton was great in the studio. But if you listen to that part closely, he's mumbling a lot here. You know, I mean, I'm able to get that because, you know, my ears are really trained by now after decades of listening and teaching and studying English. But this portion where he's talking about Bernie Taupin and Elton John, you know, he's mumbling all the way through here. So I understand if you as a learner struggle to understand what he's talking about here. Yeah?
Face of the earth. And
Let me just go back a little bit, but I get that if you struggle with that.
Especially the first 7 albums. Bernie Taupin, to me, is the best lyric writer who's ever lived on the face of the earth. And Elton John was just amazing in the studio and the recording of everything. It's some of it's so art. I mean, to me, that's my classical music because some of his stuff is classical.
Yeah, right.
You know,
You see, I mean, to him, Elton John's music is classical music. Yeah, really cool. But you see, I mean, I understand if you struggle with that portion, all right? Because, you know, there are sections here where he mumbles quite a bit, all right? All right, so this is it for my breakdown of Axl Rose's English. To answer the question, what makes this English great? I think, first of all, the laid-back vibe that I pointed out throughout this analysis today. I think it's important for you to have that relaxed, calm vibe when you speak, because if you take a breath and if you take your time with a few pauses to think about what you want to say and say it, you know, you're not in a rush to communicate your ideas. You don't make the other person, your listener, feel anxious. It's just a casual, relaxed talk. And I definitely got that vibe from this interview. So this is definitely one thing that I think makes Axl Rose's English great, this laid-backness in communicating. Something else is the unapologetic nature of his speech. You know, when you are unapologetic about something, you speak in a way that you don't care. You don't care if the other person likes you or what the other person will think of you. You are unapologetic. So the way he communicates in a unapologetic way, you know? So even if he makes a few mistakes, like grammar mistakes sometimes, it's fine because, you know, the way he's talking is signaling, I don't care. You know, this is how I talk. This is how I speak. So I think these 2 points for me make this English great. All right. So always try to communicate in a relaxed manner whenever possible. Breathe, take a few pauses, and be unapologetic in your delivery. Because even if you make a few mistakes as you're speaking, your communication will still be effective. All right? That's it for this analysis today. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of Axl Rose's English in 1990. Again, if you haven't seen the first episode, the Stallone episode, I'm going to leave the link in the description below so you can watch it now. And don't forget to check out my app, the B2 Edge. It's a great study companion if you are ready to actually study English seriously a little bit every day. This app is going to help you a lot and it's going to help you get to that upper intermediate B2 and then advanced level of proficiency in English. Link in the description as well. If you have any other questions about this breakdown, this lesson today, maybe something that I didn't define here in the analysis, just drop a comment below with your question. I'll be happy to help you figure out what was said here in this interview. And if you have a suggestion of another artist from a classic interview for me to react to and to do a breakdown of, also leave your suggestion here in the comment section below. I'm Thiago, I'm signing off. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.